Welcome to the first episode of Legends on Legends, where I will be interviewing other content creators and talking about this game that we all have feelings about. And first up to bat, we have Dr. Monopoly. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, thank you.
I have to ask about the username. Where did that come from?
That's a good question, to be honest. I don't really know, to be honest. Just sort of a random username I had at some point, and then I just was like starting a YouTube channel, and I was like, yeah, why not?
Just one of those ones that you had for something else or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Would you like to jump into a game?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Sweet. And play whatever you like. If you play like dragons or something, I will judge you, but that's okay.
Mm. We'll go with this one.
Alrighty. So, you've been making videos for what, a year or two, roughly?
Uh, Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
On and off.
No, yeah, that's fair. You did have a bit of a break. What sort of got you started? Um, like making the jump, I guess, from just playing to making content.
Um, I don't know. I guess I'd always had fun, like coming up with sort of goofy deck ideas, and I was like, I was sort of like putting like 30-second long clips of gameplay
Hmm.
onto the channel, uh, and then I was just like, well, I mean, what's stopping me from making something a bit more in depth and sort of making the jump into going a bit more detailed, I guess, and I just gave it a shot, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of fun, so just kept at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your specialty definitely seems to be in these sort of bizarre combos. The infamous 999 Dragon Cult Warrior, Dragon Cult Ghost. That's the one. Um,
Yeah.
that one's incredibly impressive. What sort of what? I don't know. Where did that idea come from? I guess.
Um, I think I was just I saw Giants Camp, and I thought it was a neat card. And the original version of that deck actually, instead of using Marauder Chieftain, it used Fighters Guild Elite, which is the 2/2 with expertise that uh, it doubles its health and power as the expertise effect.
Yeah.
So you could pretty quickly rack up stats exponentially. So I was playing around with that in Giants Camp, and I was making these massive creatures, and then I sort of noticed that uh, maybe there's a bit of synergy to be had with Marauder Chieftain, um, and then I just sort of threw that in the deck, and I realized that you can really get like the stats up very quickly with Marauder Chieftain and Giants Camp. And from there, I was just like, well, you can get a ton of Magicka with Determined Supplier. And then I was like, well, what can I do with that? And well, the obvious answer is Dragon Cult Ghost. And then I was just like, well, what if I Strange Brew that? And then you just get massive Ancient Giants. And yeah, it's just funny to see big numbers, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. It definitely feels like an example of pushing the game to, the limit of how far things you can do in the game go.
Yeah.
Um, is there any obviously I make videos as well, and sometimes you have an idea for a deck, and it just like you try as hard as you can, and you can never get it to work or never get a good recording of it. Are there any like particular ones that you've tried to do and just haven't been able to pull off?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind would be the Dark Anchor Tribunal deck, which I sort of put a very brief clip up on the channel of that, which is basically you play Dark Anchor and your deck is just like 90% prophecy cards, and then you like use Somerset Orrery to shuffle like your entire hand into your deck, and then you just draw a bunch of cards that get transformed into discounted Daedra. Because most of my decks are sort of like trying to make cards that don't see play work. So I was really trying to get Dark Anchor to work in a way that I thought was kind of fun, but I kind of quickly realized, like trying to play that it's really just not a whole lot of value. It was a difficult one, so I didn't end up making a video on it in the end. But yeah, just one of those.
Yeah, I think the conclusion to draw from that ultimately is just that Dark Ink is a kind of a shit card.
Yeah, I mean, I tried running, High Hrothgar and Ring of Imaginary Might in that deck to just make it, a bit more viable, but it's really not a good card.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's definitely cards where you could like see there's some sort of potential there, but there's just nothing in the game that exists to make it work, I guess.
Yeah, there's no real value to having Daedra discounted, especially when they're just random Daedra. So a lot of them are just like weak invade cards, which I can't really make good use out of. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I definitely think whatever RNG engine the game runs on has a very special taste for Clanfear Runt as well, in my experience.
True.
So, definitely, trying to make something like that work can definitely be tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any... So, Dark Anchor is a card. It's not a great one. Are there any particular cards that do have a special place in your heart? Perhaps the dashing young man featured in the profile picture?
Yeah, I do enjoy Martin Septim as a card. I just think he's sort of... I mean, like the first deck I ever really sort of played was a Ramp Scout deck, and I ended up putting Martin into some variation of that, and I just thought, this is a really fun card. It's sort of like it's just sort of allows you to do that sort of ridiculous greedy stuff that I sort of play the game for.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a fun card. I mean, there's a lot of cards in this game that I really like. Martin's just sort of like, I mean, he's iconic from Oblivion, so I was like, he'd make a good channel emblem, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, and he looks great with the top hat as well.
Yeah, very very smartly dressed.
Oh, you've given me a very, very hard decision to make. Yeah.
That sounds pretty good for me.
There you go.
Oh damn. Now I'm trying to think what the other choice was.
I will have my vengeance. Don't cry.
So you mentioned Oblivion. Have you sort of come to this game, well, presumably as sort of a prior Elder Scrolls fan?
Yeah, yeah. Oblivion was actually the first Elder Scrolls game that I played, which is sort of is a bit weird because Skyrim had come out at the time that I played Oblivion, but I was sort of just playing it because I'd seen it in like meme videos everywhere, and I was like, well, it's a bit of a joke, so I might as well try it. And then I was like, wait, there's actually something to this whole Elder Scrolls business.
Yeah.
So I played Morrowind. Um, I tried to get into Elder Scrolls Online, never really got that far into it, to be honest. And then I came across this game, and I was like, well, it's an Elder Scrolls game, might as well give it a shot. And yeah, something about the gameplay just really like gelled with me, because it's sort of like you can look at any of the ridiculous or unplayed cards in this game, and you can build a deck around them and have fun with them. And there's just something really enjoyable about that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in some ways a big strength of the game is the weird, unplayable, obscure cards that just
Yeah.
inspire so much creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a super competitive player in this game. I've always just sort of, you know, just looked at cards that are in my collection, and I'm like, well, this looks kind of cool. Or maybe I've played with a card in Solar Arena, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's definitely a card, and it does something that's kind of cool, so I'll give it a try. And that's how like most of my decks have come to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you recognize the deck I was playing last game?
Uh, that wasn't my deck, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was your discount Dagoth.
I was also playing a version of Discount Dagoth, so
Yeah, it looked familiar. Yeah. Yes, I had a choice between a zero-cost steel sword, a goblin skulk, and Dagoth Ur. So obviously the best card to give you was Dagoth Ur.
yeah.
So, you know, Legends is dying. That is basically, officially confirmed at this
Yeah.
point. Is there anything you're looking to do in the time that we have?
There isn't a lot that we
I mean, I have always wanted to play
no hot
a 999 started creature on the ladder. So hopefully at some point that can get done before the game shuts down. I mean, it's definitely, you know,
person's trash is another
physically possible. So I mean, other than that, it's just more of the same, really. Just like playing with any card I see that I think I could put that in a deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, but I think with that Dragon Cult deck, it's, like, theoretically possible. It will just take a while, but it would be very impressive if that was something you were able to pull off on the ladder.
We can hope.
We can hope. Yeah, absolutely. So you were playing an altered version of Discount Dagoth last game. What sort of changed between, you know, the version you posted on YouTube and then you sent me a version a little while ago?
Well,
how's-
I mean, what changed was that I got a full collection, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that definitely gave it a boost.
I mean, I maxed out on the Thieves Guild fences. Trying to think what other changes. I put in a bit more Slay synergy. I think because you can obviously if things are discounted, you can get quite a bit of contract value. Because you can play more stuff with your completed contract. So I was like, well, I'll try and get that in. So there's Astrid in the deck. There's a bunch of lethal creatures. You've got Archer's Gambit and that sort of stuff. And then also I was like, well, Morag Tong Aspirant synergizes well with Wisp Mother and synergizes well with the Slay. So stuck that in there as well. Other than that, I think it's pretty similar. I might have trimmed out some of the cards that I thought were a bit unnecessary. I think that was about it. But yeah.
My lightning bolt. Yeah, I don't want to deal with that.
Fair enough.
Do you mark
So,
you?
with like, Slay is obviously a very, very powerful mechanic. Are there any like sort of, you know, they're not quite keywords, but they are a mechanic that's very similar to a keyword.
Yeah.
Is there any of that sort of stuff that you're like a particularly big fan of?
I think that Empower's kind of a fun one. Just because of the way it can sort of snowball ridiculously. I think that I don't think that it's super interesting when it's just on a card like I'm trying to think of the name. The 5 cost that draws you 2 cards.
Y'all? No, that's not a 5 cost. Spoils of War?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like super interesting. Maybe that's just because it sees a lot of play, and I'm sort of like, I've got a knee-jerk reaction to sort of stay away from anything that's too meta. I don't think that's a particularly interesting card. But I think like some of the other things you can do with Empower are kind of funny. I don't know. I've never like super gone into it, but I think it's a at least a fun one.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for sort of the stuff that they added with Alliance War, especially. There are a lot of interesting things that were added, like Empower, and sort of potential that was opened up with that expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I think what tends to happen a lot with those things is that people don't use them as much as perhaps the devs intended. You can see with like expertise and veteran, those things don't really get a lot of like competitive play, but there is fun to be had with them, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Veteran's always been a tricky one for me because it's very similar to Slay in the way that it works, and that it involves your creature hitting something, and for a lot of Slay effects, your creature has to survive as well.
Yeah,
but it's just not as reliable, and the effects aren't generally as good either.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing about Veteran is it's just like your creature has to survive a turn pretty much. Like, at least with Slay, you've got Gambit and Crossbow and all those things that you can use to make it a bit more reliable. But with Veteran, there's not that much other than like giving them charge. That's about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think they might have missed. I don't know. I was going to say they should have made it that it's when it battles something, but then that is just Slay, so there's not really any point for that either. Mobilize is one that was added with Alliance War, which I tend to forget because it feels like such a, I don't know, such a default mechanic, especially for item decks, that you can, you know, some items you're allowed to play for free, or just onto an empty board.
Yeah. I mean, this might just be my opinion. Personally, I think that Mobilize would have been like a lot better if it wasn't only able to be played in an empty lane. Although I don't know how that would make it much better, but I don't know, it's just that feels like it would be at least like you could get more stuff on the board.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, you know, there's definitely scenarios where you want to play Mobilize, but and an item Mobilize, but you have one creature in each lane, and then you're punished for it, which feels a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, I was just thinking because of that one card, like Emmerich's Warlord or something, the two
Oh god.
cost blue legendary,
Yeah.
that gives all your items Mobilize. But the thing is, if you have that on the board, then you already have a creature on the board, so you can only play it in one lane. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a very good effect to me at all.
No, and I mean, I don't think there's much. Like, Mobilize is helpful, but stuff that you'd want to be, you know, the most powerful items are stuff like Covenant Masterpiece, which already has Mobilize, and then like stuff like Dragon Priest Mask, which, like, playing onto a recruit, you know,
Yeah.
what the fuck's the point of that? So, yeah, it's a tough one because I think Mobilize is an important mechanic.
Yeah.
It just falls flat a lot, unfortunately. By the way, are you uniting?
I am not actually.
Oh, okay.
I can see how it would look like that from the blackmail.
Blackmail, yeah, that tipped me off a little.
We're on the cusp of a major discovery. I know just what to do with this.
Okay, that's not really what I want. We'll do that.
There's a plan.
Death comes on silent.
I have very little support removal in this deck.
Excellent. That is just what I like to hear.
Just tell me who to stab.
Oh gosh. I'm getting Spider-Maned.
You are getting Spider-Man, I'm sorry.
Damn. Um.
So do you have any sort of plans for after the day that we don't want to talk about?
I mean, I'm not sure really. Like, I mean, there are like other things that I could do with the channel. Like, I mean, obviously there's the option for other Elder Scrolls content. There's also I do quite enjoy playing Slay the Spire, which I mean is a card game, so maybe that's something that people who watch Legends content would be interested in. I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty uncertain, to be honest, because I mean the whole point of this channel was Legends content, and I'm just not sure like how anything else would fill that gap.
That's so annoying.
Fervor of the wild hunt.
Yeah, I've heard talk about Slay the Spire from a few other people who are into Legends. What's the like elevator pitch? What's the deal with Slay the Spire?
Well, it's like it's. I think sort of the best way to look at it from someone who's coming from like Elder Scrolls Legends would be it's a bit like Solo Arena because you're playing against AI and you're like drafting a deck as you go along with the cards that you pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a roguelike in the sense that you're like the first few times that you do a run, you might you'll probably fail because you haven't really got to grasp the mechanics of the game very well. But then the more runs that you do, you sort of you know what cards to pick, and you get better at the game. And sometimes you just get better luck. There was sort of that idea of multiple runs and improving your deck building skills, and there's different characters that have different sets of cards, and I think it's sort of appealing to me as a Legends player because you can do some like pretty like hilarious stuff if you like sort of familiarize yourself with the cards. Then you can sort of do that Legends thing and think, well, what if I did this really ridiculous thing? And then you just sort of like play around and experiment, and it's just a really fun game in that sense. I guess it might not appeal to some people because it doesn't have that, PvP competitive aspect to it. But I really enjoy it as a game. There's mods for it too on the Steam Workshop, so yeah, lots of content to have fun with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's... Yeah, Solar Arena... Yeah, Solar Arena is certainly a way you play Legends. I'm not very good at it, to be fair. I don't know if you're a big Solar Arena fan yourself.
I do really like Solar Arena. Actually, it is one of my favorite ways to play.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it like, I don't know, when I'm sort of playing against other people, I feel like there's a certain sort of like expectation, like to be winning games, and obviously you do want to be winning games in Solar Arena, but I just think there's a bit, it's just a bit more like chill, I guess, and you can play around, experiment with cards. All of the lane effects are really usually pretty enjoyable. Sometimes the AI is just evil, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, the 3 starting Magicka one with the AI is pretty horrible.
I mean, sometimes they just start with a creature in play, and if it's an aggressive deck, then they can just like they can kill you before you even get a creature on the board,
Well, yeah, no, absolutely.
But I still enjoy it as a game mode. I think it's I just think it's really fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How long have you been playing Legends?
Well, I'm not like new. I started playing in like 2020, around the time that lockdown started. So I mean, I guess by that point the game was already, somewhat dead. But it just looked like a fun thing to me, and I was like, why not?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting. There's a definite split between people who have come to this from Elder Scrolls and who've come to this from other card games.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned Oblivion, ESO, Skyrim. Yeah, I couldn't really get into ESO either. To be like, I played it for a bit, but it's just like, I don't know, MMOs aren't my thing.
Time to join the fight.
Oh man. And by the way, good job on getting the transmogrify off. On
Yeah.
Elden there. That was very impressive.
Thank you.
They won't even see my blade.
Very lucky that I managed to get Drain on Odoving from that one Devour that I played.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Protect our stronghold.
So, if Legends had received one more, like, content release, what would you have want to have seen from it? Whether that's, like, balances, or just, like, content from the other Elder Scrolls games, or characters, or anything.
I mean, I think the main thing for me wouldn't really be balances. I think I'd be personally more interested in just having more cards to play with. In terms of like sort of where those cards are coming from,
Arcade's being stayed.
I mean, I think a lot of the older games in the series, they have a lot of
My arrows shall
fun ideas in them that I think would be interesting to explore in this game. Like, I mean, obviously there's Daggerfall. There's also the Elder Scrolls Redguard, which is like pretty awful to play, but it has got some pretty interesting stuff in it. I know they kind of like retconned a lot of stuff,
mine.
but I do think it would be kind of interesting to go back to some of those older games and just, you know, take advantage of the content that is just sort of sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as like anything pre-Morrowind goes, we have Gortwog and Baron Zaya, and I think that's
That's true.
That's literally it, though. You know, it's 2 cards for the entire I don't know, 5 games that came out before Morrowind, including Redguard and like Battlespire. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think it'd be kind of interesting to sort of I don't know, just put in like lore cards, I guess. Like, you know, it'd be interesting to see like Saint Alicia or something, and you know, they're not in any games really, but it would be I don't know, I just think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, even counting stuff that isn't games, we're still missing our Palinal Whitestrake card, which has been a personal issue. So I think that would be hella funny. But yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of stuff that is from the lore that's just being missed out on, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, the island of Solstheim, which has appeared in 2 mainline games, has, 3 cards from it, I think? So you've got the Graal, which is from Blood Moon, you've got Aspect of Hircine, and then you've got Merak.
yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Although, I was thinking that maybe the one Hawker card could be one of the Hawkers from Solstheim, but I think it's just a regular one.
Oh, actually, Old Salty is from Solstheim. You don't, like, there's not
Oh yeah,
an
that's true.
Old Salty himself isn't a card, but the Assault is. So that's 4, but it still seems a bit weird that such a like well visited location is so underrepresented.
Yeah.
So, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to happen at some point. Probably. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I haven't like thought a whole lot about it, to be honest. I mean, I know that the signs haven't exactly been super promising, but I'm still like fairly optimistic that we'll get a good game.
Yeah, it's there's lots of reasons to feel optimistic about it and a lot of reasons to feel pessimistic about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see just like what they do with a lot of it, because like obviously like in Skyrim they were setting up the Thalmor as pretty clear like antagonistic faction. So I'm just wondering like where will they go with that, and I'm also curious just to see how they resolve things like the conclusion of the Skyrim Civil War. Like, are they just not going to mention it? Are they going to confirm who won? Just things like that, I guess. I'm sort of eager to see worked out.
Yeah, they've definitely left a lot of very important threads open, which also don't really lend themselves to their normal, trying not to define what the player's done or whatever, but I think a lot of the stuff, with the way that Skyrim was done, there's so many things that they kind of have to.
I mean, I have seen some stuff that might explain how the Civil War ended. Like, apparently there's like a note in one of the forts that like shows evidence of like an Imperial Legion that's going to be arriving from Cyrodiil, so they might just use that and say that the Empire won and that's that. But I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows until the game comes out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's also discussion about, the quest is called Season Unending, where you do the peace treaty. That quest that everyone loves so much. Are they just going to leave it unanswered? But, yeah, we're never going to know until the game comes out. But people will be speculating.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's bound to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Double heroic rebirth.
Yeah. No, we're on the
Pretty-
cool guy show.
Pretty intimidating.
So that was Transmogrify Guildsworn you were just playing. Was that Singleton or just?
It was not Singleton.
Right.
I have done Singleton Transmogrify before.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, I don't think it was that bad, to be honest. But I just thought I'd go a bit more consistent with that one.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea. Oh my god.
I mean, I do have so many like decks that are just complete garbage. Sometimes it's nice to just play something that works.
It's definitely refreshing. I'll give you that much. This seems helpful.
Just forget about C. Everyone does.
Enemy skeevers.
Traitor skeevers.
Open wide.
Enraged Mudcrab. Wow.
Yeah, gotta go all in on the animals.
Uh, so, in your time with Legends in the community, are there any particular, like, other content creators or people who are prominent in the community who've really stood out to you?
I mean, obviously, I think when I was first sort of getting into the game and just sort of, looking for content around it, I mean, it makes sense that like Justin Larson would be the first person that you come across when you're doing that,
Mm.
and I think that's probably like
Speak.
that's probably a part of what sort of inspired my like approach to just sort of, experimenting and having fun with stuff. I think, yeah, I think that was a really important thing for me. So him, I guess. I mean, around the time that I was actually sort of deciding to make content, I mean, it was a little while after Daraloth had started
Mm.
making videos, and that sort of prompted me, I guess, to yeah, just get into it a little bit, and just seeing that other people were still making content for this game and still having fun with their decks was motivation enough for me to get into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been all too easy for once the game died for just no one to make videos on it anymore. But I think, there's so many things you can do with the game, and so much potential for new stuff to happen that I think, it's a great thing for the health of the game and the community that there are people like yourself and Daryl who keeps going, even though the game was quote unquote dead at the time, even though nowadays it is even more so.
Yeah. I mean, just from like the whole 999 Dragon Cult Ghost strategy, like the fact that, as far as I know, no one came up with that before me, just sort of shows that there's probably still like so many like ridiculous things to do in this game that we haven't like discovered or taken advantage of yet, and I just think it'd be a shame not to try and find as many of those hidden gems as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got over 1,000 cards. The potential for bizarre combos is effectively limitless.
Yeah.
Are there any? I don't think I've talked about this already. Are there any particular cards that? Oh no, we did talk about this. Martin Septon. Yeah. Any particular memories you have of the game that really stand out? Whether that was like something you did or something you watched someone else do. Just the sort of stuff that you are going to remember for a long time.
I mean, I guess like, well, I mean, when I started playing, I was sort of doing it with one of my friends who was also into Elder Scrolls, and we were both sort of
Take up his bait.
getting into this game together, and I think that like the first time that I triggered like Martin to get into his avatar of Akatosh, I was like playing in a friendly match against them, and yeah, just like fun moments like that, I guess, and also like obviously uploading my first video and like posting that and seeing people's reactions to it.
Don't leave any of them alive.
Yeah, it's just
The spirit of Isgramor goes with us.
a lot of fun memories there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're starting to get some questions from chat, so we might move on to getting some of those. So we have a question: what was the first deck you made? You've touched on it briefly, but are there any more details you can share?
It was just a very, very greedy ramp scout deck. Probably had a ridiculous number of cards in it. I don't think it was particularly good. I mean, I wasn't when I first got into the game. I wasn't super into ranked play. I think I had some success with it though. But yeah, I think I was running a lot of cards that just did not belong in that deck. I mean, I don't know if I have it saved somewhere or not. I mean, I might have a look at some point. Maybe do a video on it. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to that first deck.
Do you remember what the first like meme deck you made was?
That is a good question. I think it was something to do with prize chicken. I think I just saw prize chicken as I was looking through all the cards that I didn't have, and I was like, that's pretty funny. I could try to do something with that. I think it was a token deck of some kind, because I figured that like it generates angry villagers, so I might as well try and make the most out of that.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense that you'd build a deck around that card.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's an incredibly powerful card.
I've got a job to do.
I'm not feeling optimistic about winning this one.
I want to be an assassin, like Mario. I'll clear a path.
I do love the sort of humor that a lot of the cards and the way a lot of the cards are made in this game is sort of approached. You know, you've got stuff like horse armor and adoring fan and all of this sort of nonsense that's very clearly making fun of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really fun aspect of the game. I mean, even just like you know, if your Altar of Despair doesn't pull anything, you get a sweet roll, and if you play like blackmail and your opponent doesn't have any creatures and they just give you a chicken, I think stuff like that is just, you know, just adds a lot to the game. I think that sort of ambient humor just makes it, you know, I mean, obviously I'm having a lot of fun already because I'm playing like ridiculous decks, but I think it just sort of, you know, adds to the feel a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of, it's like, yeah, subtle jokes.
I'm not here to hurt you.
That definitely keep things interesting and entertaining. Someone's asking, why is this game so fun? Is it because it's a card game, or because it's an Elder Scrolls game? What is your take on that?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's fun because it's an Elder Scrolls game. I mean, I think there are Elder Scrolls games that aren't fun, definitely. I mean, I didn't get into it because it was a card game. I've never really been a big card game player. But I think, you know, I think it was the Elder Scrolls aspect that sort of got me hooked on it. But it was really you know, that card game feel that you know, really sold the game to me. So I guess if I had to, you know, choose between the two, I would say as a card game, but I'm also not really a card game player, so you know, I got into it because of Elder Scrolls, but I think it's fun because it's a fun card game.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite deck or deck archetype / combo? Not necessarily one you've made.
That is a good question. My favorite deck archetype.
I've got a job to do.
I do like creatureless decks a lot. I think that's just like a fun way to you know, mess about with.
You left me no choice.
You know, the way that the game mechanics are meant to be played. There is this one combo that I saw Justin Larson do one time, which was, I mean, it was completely ridiculous. It was like a singleton deck where the only creature that you run is Ancano, and the only action that you run aside from Siege is the Red Year. So then you play Siege and you get Ancano and you get the Red Year and you kill your opponent in one turn like that, which is something that I've never done myself, but I think that's just sort of like the embodiment of like ridiculousness that I've sort of tried to put out on the channel.
Yeah, I think I always find it really funny when it's very clear that the devs have sort of gone, you know, with something like this game, you're supposed to play creatures on the board. That is how the game is designed.
Yeah.
And it's really funny to just go, I don't want to do that. I'm not playing any creatures. But yeah, certainly, Justin certainly came up with some pretty impressive, I don't know if you'd call them strategies, approaches to the game.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think I am about out of this match.
Yeah, I'm looking for a particular card and it's not showing up, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm looking for a card that I can play.
A miracle.
We die together.
I've got a job to do.
You've got me curious now. I'm trying to work out what's happening.
I think you might have seen this before, I'm not sure, but we will get there. You may have to be a little patient. So you're on...
I have a feeling, but I won't say. I'll see.
Alright. So you're on Redoran Beast form of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I've played with werewolves like a fair amount in the past. I just think they're pretty funny. I mean, like, I know that there's some of them that see competitive play, like Circle Initiate, but I mean, a lot of them are just sort of like, I think, rotting in a lot of people's collections, and I was just like, well, you know, I mean, what if I just put like Night Predator into this deck, even though it's a pretty atrocious card. I just wanted to go all in on the werewolves, I guess. I mean, it's not exactly werewolf tribal, because that's a difficult thing to pull off.
Yeah, that's the polite way of saying it.
But yeah, I wanted to, you know, do as much as werewolves as I could reasonably do within one deck. Although apparently it's not particularly reasonable against against this.
Do you think Legends would have survived if it was more pay to win?
I mean, it's difficult to say. I don't. I mean, I guess from like, a corporate standpoint, obviously, if it is more pay to win, then there's a greater incentive for the devs to keep it around. But in terms of,
Identify yourself.
it's a double-edged sword, I guess, because on the one hand, the devs are more likely to keep it alive if they're, getting enough revenue off it. But on the other hand, there's the chance that players will just be dissatisfied with the amount of, microtransactions and stuff. I know a lot of people do get frustrated with that. Although, that said, there are a lot of overtly pay-to-win games that are successful, so I don't know how much that would actually impact it. But me personally, I'm glad that it's not pay-to-win. I don't think I would have gotten
Is there singing?
as into it as I am if it was. But that's just my opinion.
All will be consumed by the void.
Yeah, here we go.
All will be consumed by the void.
Alrighty, good game. What is your most hated card or cards?
My most hated card.
Just while we wait for this animation to play out.
I would say my most hated card is Midnight Burial, I think, just because of the way it completely trivializes some strategies. Like, it's just ridiculously easy to do super annoying things with it. I really do not like that card at all. I mean, I guess there are some reasonable applications of it, but I try to avoid even doing those just because it just makes things so easy to pull off. Like when I did Bone Armor combo,
I was just gonna say.
I deliberately didn't include Midnight Burial, and I actually have played variations of Bone Armor, and I put Midnight Burial in just to see how it would go, and it just makes it so much easier, but so much less interesting. So yeah, I just really don't like it.
No, I agree. I mean, it's you compare it to Larnath, which is a 9 cost, which allows you to grab whatever you want out of the deck. And obviously Midnight Burial is only creatures, but the game is built around the creatures by and large, and the fact that you can tutor a creature, or 2 if you trigger the Betray, for 1 Magicka is... the downside of it being in the discard pile is basically irrelevant for the cost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think that's a perfectly reasonable one. I mean, yeah, the Tamriel collection... I see the idea of wanting to give a last sort of, I don't know, I guess collection of cards for people to play with and do new stuff with, but I think they probably needed a bit more time to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I've mentioned this in stream chat sometime, but pretty much all of the art that was used in the Tamriel collection was already in the game, and I think that just gives the impression that they had this game that they were ceasing development of, and they had this unused art, and they were just well, we can make cards out of this, and it is more content, which I do like content, but also I don't think it was the most thoughtful set of cards per se.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Explore as a card, but I would rather not have to deal with a new era if it meant that I could never play Explore again. Like, I'm fine with that trade-off.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, I think that's the thing about like the Tamriel collection cards is that either like really good or they're just like not that great. I mean, Explore's like in some strategies is good, but something like Special Brew,
Yeah.
you can sort of reasonably run it in like a prophecy deck if you're going to be drawing like Dark Harvesters and like Assassin Beetles, but like aside from that, I don't know. It just feels like they were like, well, this effect seems cool, and that's like enough justification to put it in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of like something stuff like Strange Brew bothers me because it's effectively encouraging you to not play cards that you've deck built around, if that makes sense. Like it's just saying, oh, you don't need to be careful about how you build your deck because you can just use Strange Brew and get whatever you like.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not how everyone's going to play that, and that can be a bit of an edge case, but it's that sort of stuff. Or, a new era. Why would you build your deck carefully when you can just play your opponents?
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, there were... mistakes were made, I think, is safe to say.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm just trying to think of what other cards there were in the Tamriel collection. There was Enchanted Ring.
There was one for each of the 3 attributes, and then one in every other class, in every other attribute. You had the Dalvin Mallory card, Smuggler Underboss, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's kind of fun.
That's fun. Yeah, I like that card. I mean, I'm a Hlalo enjoyer through and through, so I'm quite happy to play with that one. But what was that? Oh, the Ebonheart one is really weird. It's the guard that has like Consume and Veteran on it.
Yeah, I actually do quite like that one.
I like the card. It just feels a little like convoluted for what it's trying to do.
I know what you mean.
Like if you try, like the text on that card is like the same size as the card art itself almost.
Yeah, I do think I do like what it's trying to do. Like it is trying to like give Veteran that extra sort of edge, and you can do some fun things with Consume and stuff. But it is, I feel like they sort of didn't know what to do with the effect almost, and they just settled on a bunch of stuff. They were like, well, Ebonheart that has Veteran, so I'll make a card that does Veteran stuff. And yeah, that was a pretty devastating ice storm.
Yeah, sorry about that. I know exactly what you're on, by the way.
Yeah.
What else? Death Scythe. That's another Tamriel collection one. That's like
I've never really played with it. I mean, I guess I've seen it played in some decks, and I think they got some pretty good use out of it. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not like super big on Telvanni in general, to be honest, so it's not really my thing. But it's an interesting effect, definitely.
design like this belongs in a museum.
Someone reckons Consume, Mobilize, and Veteran are probably the least interesting mechanics. We talked about Mobilize and Veteran before. What are your thoughts on Consume?
I think consume is more interesting than the other two, I would say. I mean, I do get that, like, in a lot of cases, a consume effect does sort of just feel like a summon effect. Because, like, most of the time you will have a card in your discard pile, and there's not a lot of people who are playing dedicated consume decks. So a lot of the time it does just sort of feel like a summon effect. I mean, occasionally if you're playing, like, the 2/2 for 1 in blue, then you might not have a creature in your discard pile by that point. So you might not get the effect. I think there are some, like, fun things you can do with consume, but I do see why someone would consider it to be an uninteresting effect.
I only need
Yeah, I don't know, it's something I've been thinking about a little bit. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on it, but I think an issue with a lot of the mechanics, like Consume, for example, is that people do try to build entire decks around them, and then it doesn't necessarily work out the way they want. But I think a lot of those, you're not really supposed to build your deck exclusively
There's no prize for second place.
around them. They're just kind of meant to be a little extra boost.
Yeah, I think that's, like, true in a lot of cases.
Mine.
I mean, if you look at, like, some of the decks that the AI are playing, then you might sort of, like, get the impression that, like, a deck should be played a certain way. Like, the Ebonheart deck that the AI plays is filled with veteran cards. So obviously, if you're a new player and you're playing against the AI, then you're going to see that and you think,
Silent.
well, obviously the way I'm supposed to play Ebonheart is I'm supposed to put, like, every veteran card in it. Which, you know, if you're trying to get up to legend or whatever, is probably not gonna work out in your favor.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, Slay and Pilfer are definitely at their strongest when you build your deck around them, but, like, you know, how often is it really practical to build a deck around Rally?
Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Follow up to that, if you could expand on an underutilized mechanic, which one would you do? Or expand on, I guess.
I think Treasure Hunt. I really enjoy Treasure Hunt as a mechanic. I think there's just, like, I know it's a bit sort of like luck of the draw based, and it's like the sense of, well, am I gonna draw an item right now? But I just think there's so many, like, treasure hunt effects that you could put into, like, different archetypes. Like, maybe there's, like, I don't know, a treasure hunt for prophecy cards, and if you get the treasure hunt, then it triggers the prophecy. I mean, that's just, like, I don't know, that's, like, that might be a terrible idea because I haven't really thought that through. But I just think there's, like, so many different archetypes that could use some sort of treasure hunt effect, you know, even if it's just, like, because it's, you know, kind of fun. Like, I know treasure hunt has never really been a sort of competitive mechanic. Maybe I'm just, like, saying it should be expanded upon because it's, you know, a personal favorite of mine, but I just think there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Treasure Hunt's a lot of fun, and I find it really interesting that there's that one that Treasure Hunt's for 0 cost cards.
Yeah.
Because that's very clearly built for a specific archetype. And then there's the one that Treasure Hunts for guard creatures, although that one's not very good. But yeah, no, I agree 100%. You know, not that Slay needs the help, but having something like Treasure Hunt for a Slay creature and it gives it a buff or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of potential that with Treasure Hunt that just simply isn't expanded upon.
I mean, like, there's this, like, keyword,
A find like this
trying
belongs in a
to think what the
museum.
card's called. Illusory Mimic, keyword Illusory Mimic Dagoth
Yeah.
deck that I play, and I run the
This belongs in a museum.
Ruthless freebooter in it, the green treasure hunt card, because like if you've got Dagother and Clockwork Scorpions in the deck, then you can pretty easily get like get the Drain and Lethal keywords on that guy.
Yeah, no, Ruthless Freebooter is pretty strong, actually, especially given the two keywords that it's looking for. It'll be interesting to see if there were sort of other keywords were expanded upon in the same way in terms of, you know, the treasure hunt mechanic.
Yeah, definitely. I do really like Ruthless Freebooter, actually. Like, sometimes you just draw a lethal card and your opponent's got like a creature they don't want to die, and they've thought, well, that's fine, they can't kill that, and then you just draw a lethal, and like that screws up their whole plan. I know it's sort of like you know, not the most consistent use of a lethal card, but I do think it's fun. I am getting wrecked.
Let's do this. So yes, this is the Self-Silence Ebonheart that you posted a video on very recently.
It is, yeah.
Self-silence is a mechanic that's been sort of talked about for a long time. Ebonheart is not the usual. I think, you know, generally
Watch this.
warrior's the most common archetype that people go for. Was there anything like that sort of made you go, yeah, I want to do this in Ebonheart instead?
This one must feed.
I don't know, really. I think that, I mean, the most common like archetypes of self-silence that people tend to play are like warrior and scout, I believe.
Watch
So I mean, Ebonheart sort of seemed like the obvious choice if I wanted to combine both of those.
what did you expect? A friendly
It's also, I also thought like the whole Yoran thing was cool because he's immune to silence. That just seemed like it fit well with that deck, and I just wanted to, you know, try it out. Generally, if I do play decks that are like already established archetypes, even if they are like meme archetypes, I try and sort of put my own little spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sort of, I guess, desire to not quite do what the default is always very appealing.
Yeah.
What do you want to go for? So I'm just trying to... Let's do this one.
Green.
Yeah, just green.
Fair enough.
Someone said, I wish Young Dragonborn was a playable card. Are there any... We kind of touched on it a little bit, but are there any cards you really want to be good, but just are useless?
This one will hunt you down.
A card that I do really like,
I want to be an
that isn't
like now.
useless, but isn't particularly playable either, is like Orsinium Forge, the
To run.
the 5-cost red support where you can equip a increasingly larger item to your creatures. I think that's really fun. The issue is that it doesn't fit particularly well into item decks, and it also doesn't fit particularly well into support decks. But that doesn't stop me from playing with it, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, no, 100%.
It's too late to run.
Damn.
This is not actually
I will have my
the deck that I was supposed to load up, to be honest. So I have 2 mono green decks and I picked the wrong one, but that's okay. Monster Perfection Lab. Interesting. Now that's a card that, I don't know, it's always felt like too big brain to me, to be honest. Like,
Okay, well, to be fair, there is a deck that contains this card that I play sometimes that is good and does make good use of it. This is not that deck. This is not a particularly good deck. But
Let's see your fighting state. Let's make the ancestors proud.
I will have my vengeance. I want to be an assassin, like Naryu. I will have my vengeance. I will have my vengeance. I will have my vengeance, like Naryu.
Ifra, stand with me.
I think I run Ice Storm in this deck.
uh-oh.
I hope I do.
We must protect our stronghold.
Annoying.
I think I'm already pretty much out of steam, to be fair.
I will have my
I'll give you some more steam. There you go.
I will have my vengeance.
Thanks.
No worries. Yeah, that one.
I do not fear.
I've been asked if you want to be an assassin like Naryu.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Well, apparently it's the popular thing these days.
If it wasn't valuable, they
There's
wouldn't lock
loot
it up.
here, Skywag. I can smell it.
The forest is
I will
ours.
have my vengeance. I will have my vengeance. I will have my vengeance. My vengeance.
Beaten by green.
Yeah. It probably won't happen again. I'm gonna use the correct list this time, and I'm sure it will go much worse for me, but that's okay. Where is it? Oh, I think I deleted it. That's how bad it is. Is there any particular art in the game? Because I think that's definitely one of its strengths is the artwork that's been done. Are there any in particular that you're a really big fan of?
I really like the alternate art Alduin. I think that's really really pretty. I like I also like the art on the Avatar of Akatosh when Martin transforms. I think that's also a really cool one. As someone whose first game was Oblivion, you know, obviously in Oblivion the graphics aren't super amazing, especially when it comes to the characters. So it's sort of nice to see them in a form where they are more aesthetically pleasing, I guess.
Yeah, Oblivion definitely had some interesting art direction. We'll say that much.
I mean, I personally, you know, maybe this is just my personal bias for the game. I do quite enjoy a lot of Oblivion's like art direction, but one thing I cannot defend is the characters.
Yeah, I guess I should have said execution rather than art direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very easy to dunk on Oblivion's overall look, but there are a lot of really nice. I mean, the painted world stuff is really pretty.
Oh yeah.
And even just the sort of Lord of the Rings style environment is, you know, it's not the most original thing in the world, but it's still very nice to look at.
Yeah, no. I also really I really love the Shivering Isles DLC. That's a real I mean, that's probably my favorite part about the game is that DLC. I just think it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, everything, you know, the writing, the look, the way it's executed, the stuff you interact with, there's so much good stuff going for Shivering Isles.
Yeah, definitely.
Even just having the like Mania and Dementia split. Like, there hadn't really been anything like that in Elder Scrolls until that point. At least not that you could interact with in-game.
Yeah. I also really like how in that DLC they sort of leaned a bit more into that alien look that that was so prevalent in Morrowind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in pretty much every game since Morrowind, they've been trying to do something with big, weird-looking mushrooms and so on and so on, whether that's Solstheim and Skyrim or Shivering Isles, but they do seem to love their giant mushrooms.
Just give me an A.
Renegade Magister is an interesting card.
It's a surprisingly good card, I've discovered.
Yeah, well, it's you know, it's one of those ones that effectively never sees play, but there's something about it that's like, there's nothing objectively bad about it. It's got a good stat line for its cost and a decent effect, but just kicked to the wayside a bit.
I'll try to draw their fire.
Cloud Resolutionists execute just as strong as
Classic.
it was 7 years ago.
Die, interloper! Ifra, stand with me! The forest is ours!
Clockwork Scorpion, pretty spicy.
That's a great one for the Ruthless Freebooter.
It is, yeah. It's also quite annoying to remove.
Yeah, no, it's out of execute range and Mighty, which is always nice.
It is not out of Spirit Knife range.
That's true. Four.
Strengthen my courage.
I cannot tell what you're doing, and I don't like it.
I'll try to draw their fire.
Oh, you're kidding.
Just as strong as it was 2 turns ago.
Yeah, I can't deal with that.
Hardly a challenge. Your fear betrays you.
The forest is my strength and my courage.
The destruction mage is never unarmed.
What are we going after?
I think you might have me.
Hardly a challenge.
Looks like it.
Alrighty.
Your fear betrays you.
Good game.
Good game.
What was going on with that one? Was it just a Renegade Magister thing, or?
Yeah, it's sort of an update on the Mages Guild Retreat Guilds one that I put on the channel a while back.
Yes, yeah.
Just with a few tweaks.
Yeah.
Including the Renegade Magister. What were you playing?
Oh god. The idea is to get 2 Swindler's Markets, 2 Skooma Cats in play, and try and get as many lockpicks as you can.
Oh, that one, yeah.
And then the lockpicks get discounted. Yeah, I know. Not very good. Shockingly. So that's pretty much an hour and a half on the dot. So we'll probably look at wrapping things up there. Before we go, is there anything you want to promote? Anything that's you've recently done or that is coming up for you and your channel?
I mean, I will have a video coming out soon, hopefully. So go watch that when it comes out. I have a video that came out recently, if you haven't seen that, that's on Self-Silence Ebonheart. I mean, yeah, that's about it.
No, fair enough. And yes, the link to the Doctor's YouTube channel is both on the screen and it will be down in the description if you're watching this over on YouTube. Is there anything else you want to say?
Just thanks for having me. It's been a good time.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Alrighty, we will wrap things up there. Thank you again, Dr. Monopoly, for showing up. Everyone go check out what he's up to. And I'm sure I will see you around.
Yeah. See you, man.
See you, man.